Hey, welcome back to the show. You know, many people cite divorce as a leading reason for their bankruptcy filing. However, planning ahead can make both your bankruptcy and your divorce less complicated and more cost-effective. We always enjoy when he's on the show. One of the best bankruptcy attorneys in Chattanooga, at least I think he is. He's terrific. Aaron Epstein. Not only do you go to Aaron, does he give you great advice, but you also are there to educate. And you've always said that's such an important part of your practice is the education.
It's the whole focus. You've got to understand to make an educated decision, and you can't do it just because you've got a friend who says they heard something. That hurts you more than it helps you. So your friends are your friends, but if you need advice from a lawyer, whoever it is, listen to your lawyer, talk to your lawyer.
All right, let's talk about divorce and bankruptcy. You know, they said oftentimes bankruptcy filings, divorce is the biggest cause of money issues. So you hear this all the time.
Well, there's three main causes of bankruptcy. One's loss of job, one's illnesses, and one's divorce. So it's probably a third of the bankruptcies, if I had to guess, are related to divorce. And the critical thing to understand is timing can be significant. So you need to, I hate to say it, if you see the relationship going south and you're thinking about it, talk to a bankruptcy lawyer because it may matter when you file.
You need to put your egos aside and realize both spouses will be hurt, I mean, for a lifetime if you don't get this in order. Let me go ahead and show this up on the screen, some information to consider divorce and bankruptcy. Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, you've got to make that decision. Do you do it as a couple or do you do it on your own? What is that decision you need to make?
Well, the first thing is, I have to say on the front end, if you have financial problems and you are willing to come in and file either a bankruptcy or Chapter 13 together, you might actually save the marriage. So that's critical. Now, as far as obligations that are dischargeable in a Chapter 7, pretty much there aren't many that are dischargeable if you file a bankruptcy. If you've been ordered to pay a debt in a bankruptcy, you're stuck with it. In a Chapter 13, you can actually pay those debts back over a period of 3 to 5 years.
All right, let me go ahead. Property division. This is the time. I mean, if you can bring your spouse in with you, once again, leave your egos outside. You can talk to someone like you. Property division, what do we own? What are we going to share? What are we going to pay for?
Well, there's some problems with that because you've got a conflict of interest. You can't really represent both parties who are in a divorce in a bankruptcy.
I didn't realize that. So each person would have to have their own bankruptcy attorney?
If you get to that point of property division, now there's an automatic stay that applies to property division, but it doesn't apply to things like support, alimony, visitation. Those things go on, but property division is stopped, and generally you'll have to get an order from the bankruptcy court. Usually we call it a comfort order for the state court judge to proceed with that part of the divorce.
The same thing with the next thing, allocation of debts?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
But you need to understand the difference is critical. In a Chapter 7, if there's been a division of the debts, a hold harmless agreement, that is you're pretty much stuck with that debt. Now, it doesn't mean you have to pay it, just means if you were ordered to pay it to protect the spouse, like a joint debt, then later on, somebody tries to collect it from them, you have to hold them harmless and probably indemnify them, pay that debt that you had actually discharged to yourself.
All right, let's go ahead. We got one more thing, income qualifications, and let me just ask you this question. Let's go with this last thing. What should you do first? Divorce? Bankruptcy? I mean, if you were to give some advice right now, what do you do first?
You'll love this, Jed. It depends.
Okay.
It really depends. I would, first of all, engage the service of a divorce lawyer, and then I would probably contemporaneously or soon thereafter as you could try to get with a bankruptcy lawyer, and maybe the coordination of those two professionals will help you immensely.
Let me ask you, what if you've signed for the, let's say for a mortgage? What if your name is on some big accounts? How do you handle that? How do you get your name off these things? Because you're going to be stuck with them.
If you file with Chapter 7, like I said, it'll discharge your obligation. But a lot of these divorce decrees, probably most of them nowadays, have what's called a hold harmless agreement, where you agree that if the house sells for less than you owe and the spouse is stuck with it, you'll protect them. And you're stuck with that in Chapter 7, whereas in a Chapter 13, if there's a deficiency, you could actually protect them by paying it back.
That may be the survival for both spouses when you think of Chapter 13. God forbid if you have to go through either of them. 13 sounds like the best thing because that'll save you in the long run.
It depends.
Okay.
Each case is so different, and the interplay between bankruptcy law and divorce law is probably the most complex thing in my life.
Unfortunately, though, you see it a lot too often, don't you?
Yep.
All right.
It's sad.
It's good to have you, Aaron. You always make it so easy to understand, and this was definitely not an easy subject. Here's the information. Once again, Aaron Epstein, I consider him a great attorney, folks. 713 Cherry Street, 752-3000. We love it when he comes on this show. His important part is education. Listen, if you don't want to listen to Aaron, go to his website, moneyproblems.com. He answers everything you need to know right there on the website, moneyproblems.com. Aaron, I think you're wearing the same tie, buddy. You look fantastic.
Oh, yeah, that's my TV tie.
TV tie.
Just for you, Jed.
3 plus you right after this.